So welcome everybody. My name's Annabelle and we're joined by my colleague Nikki. Hi Nikki.
Hi Annabelle. Hi everyone.
And we are partnership officers in the Deakin Engagement and Access Program at Deakin University. And our role is to partner with schools. It's essentially an outreach program because we really strongly believe that university should be an opportunity available to everyone. So our Deakin Engagement and Access Program supports students' aspirations and confidence to make decisions about their future educational and career pathways. Nikki, do we have some housekeeping things to talk about before we start?
Yeah, so before we begin, it's really important. We want to get everyone to be engaged in our session tonight. So the way you can engage with us is putting things in the chat or putting questions that you'd like to be answered in the Q&A section. We'll also be doing some polls tonight as well, so be able to interact with us by answering some questions. But yeah, we'd love to hear all about you, where you're from in the chat tonight, and we look forward to getting some great questions from our audience.
Fantastic. And we'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we are all meeting tonight, and to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in this webinar. We pay our respects to First Peoples past and present, and we recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture. So, Nikki, we have an awesome panel here tonight, 4 wonderful people who have kindly joined us. So we'll start with Tatiana. Dr. Tatiana Rocks. I love your name, by the way. Tatiana is a research fellow and head of translation and education at the Food and Mood Centre at Deakin University. Tatiana has extensively been involved in education and training of professionals and community on the topic of nutritional psychiatry and is regularly invited to speak at academic and professional events. As an accredited practicing dietitian, Tatiana also leads several research projects exploring the relationship between diet and mental and gut health, including investigations in individuals with eating and post-traumatic stress disorders. And tonight, Tatiana, you'll be talking about the importance of diet for mental health. So welcome.
Thank you.
And Beth, thank you for coming along. Beth, you also work in the Food and Mood Centre at Deakin, and you're currently a PhD student focusing on the prevention of common mental disorders through modifiable health behaviours, including diet, exercise, sleep and smoking. And tonight you're happy to talk about your experiences as a student at Deakin, including your study exchange at the University of South Florida, what you love about university and research, and your day-to-day life as a PhD student. Welcome back and thanks for coming.
Thanks. Hi everyone.
And Bevan Hurst, you describe yourself as an energetic and outgoing mature-aged medical student with a rural background. Known to possess a healthy sense of humour, you advocate passionately for health and well-being, both mental and physical. Tonight, you'll be talking about your own health journey, which also happens to be your journey to becoming a doctor, starting with a competition you entered in 2016 called Men's Precision Nutrition Coaching Program. I'm intrigued. Welcome, Bevan.
Thanks, Annabelle. Hi, everybody.
And last but not least, please welcome Tim Marwood. Tim is a 3rd-generation dairy farmer who has had a long connection to the land and established Tim Boone Ice Cream, I know, with Caroline Simmons in October 1999. And for the last 21 years, Tim and Caroline have been making their famous ice cream on their property 7 kilometres from Tim Boone. Fresh milk comes from the Doolans family farm down the road, and fresh cream from Warrnambool Cheese and Butter Factory. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Annabelle. Hi, everybody.
And Nikki, I think we're going to start with a poll.
We are going to start with a poll, Annabelle, and I've got it ready and I'm about to launch it. Here it goes. So you can answer, it'll come up on your screen. You can answer those questions that are up there.
We don't get to see them, Nikki?
No, not the panelists. No, you don't get to see them, unfortunately.
All right.
Just
That's like Okay, so the first question is, how long can honey last? We've got until someone eats it, 2 to 3 days, up to 1 month in a fridge, or 3,000 years. Okay, I'm going to ask the panelists to answer this one, except for not Tatiana. Do you want to have a go, Beth?
Yeah, I've actually questioned myself with this one. I'm not too sure. I feel like I've got honey in there for more than a month. I'm going to say until someone eats it because it's too good to leave for too long.
Well, I reckon that's probably a really good answer, but there's another answer as well.
Oh, I'm not too sure.
3,000 years.
I think 3,000 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go Tim. Awesome. All right. Which country is the top producer of potatoes? Is it Austria, Canada, China, or Russia? There's a bit of a spread. I'm seeing a bit of a spread in the chat. So Austria, Canada, China, Russia. What's your gut instinct, Tim?
Based on volume per capita, I'd probably have to say China, perhaps.
Yeah, guess what? You're right.
Oh,
Good thinking. I like your process of elimination there. That was really good problem solving. The third one is which country is tea originated from? Is it India, China, Vietnam, or England? There's a little bit of there's 2 countries that are standing out at the moment. Pick on you, Bevan. What do you reckon? India, China, Vietnam, or England?
Am I allowed to answer? Because I already know this one.
Yeah, you can, yes. Go. What is it?
It's China.
It is China. You do know. I didn't know that you really did know though.
Yeah, I knew all the answers.
Oh, you were in that.
I'm just
thing
really
the other
clever.
day. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh yeah, that too.
His comprehension's really good, Annabelle, from last.
That's right. All righty. I think that's our last. Yep. Fantastic. Thank you so much for participating in that. All righty. What's up next, Nikki? Okay, we're going to have a bit of an icebreaker, and this is also a bit of a debate we can have between our panelists. The question is, what do you think is the most eaten food in the world? Now, I did Google this, by the way. Got any thoughts?
Got to be rice.
Rice?
Yeah.
Okay, Beck?
I would say rice as well. That's what first came to my mind, yeah.
Bevan?
I'm going to be a contrarian and say it's something awful like Macca's.
What do you think, Tatiana? Do you actually know the answer?
I hope it's not Macca's. I'm pretty sure it would be some kind of grain or combination of grain, but my answer probably rice, most likely.
Rice. Well, to be honest with you, I don't know what the answer is. Oh, someone has just said pizza. So when I Googled it, there were 8 top foods. And if I can bring up my running sheet, I'll be able to tell you what the top 8 foods are. The 8 most consumed foods in the world today are pasta, rice, so tick, 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 pizza, chicken, eggs, spinach, and guess what, Tim? Ice cream.
Woohoo! Actually, I've got a question back for you guys. Which nation is the highest consumer of ice cream in the world?
Oh,
Per
gosh.
capita or just per vote, like
Yeah,
per person?
on a base of litres per person consumed.
Ah,
Actually, I know this one. I've heard it before.
America?
Someone said USA. No, it's not. You think so? Yep. Close.
Is it
Close.
Canada or Mexico?
No, not close. Physically close. Just close because they're the second highest one.
Australia?
No.
New Zealand?
Yes.
Italy.
Hold on.
Oh,
New Zealand.
Kiwis. Yes, they love ice cream.
They have a very good ice cream, so I can understand them.
Yeah, they do. And I think most of their milk bars have scoop cabinets in them, so everybody likes to sort of consume in cones regularly.
Classic. Awesome. All right, so we're going to go right into the hard questions now. And I'm going to start with you, Tatiana. So you're currently leading an internationally recognised online course called Food and Mood, Improving Mental Health Through Diet and Nutrition. So our audience tonight is made up of secondary school students, many who are facing the pressures of VCE, not to mention restrictions imposed by COVID. So what diet and nutrition advice would you give to students who may be feeling stressed and possibly anxious at the moment? So in other words, can you please tell us about the importance of diet for mental health?
I'd be very happy to. Thank you for asking, Annabelle. First of all, I would like to shout to all the students who are sitting at home preparing for exams. Guys, you're doing really, and girls, you're doing really, really well. So my first perhaps advice or recommendation is to make sure that you ask for help when you need it. That's probably the best thing you can do for your mental health. Second best thing is probably to look after yourself. And that's where diet and nutrition comes in. And when I say diet, I don't mean some specific restrictive type of stuff. I'm talking about all the food and drinks we consume every day. And what science and research shows us right now, that what we eat every day actually can impact our mental health. And usually what we see all over the world and in people of all ages, that better diet quality is usually linked to better mental health. When I say better diet quality, I talk about way of eating when you eat a lot of plant food, stuff like fruit, veggies, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. When you make sure that you eat enough good quality proteins, such as dairy or maybe even ice cream every now and then. So when you look after yourself and when you try to limit stuff, all the highly processed food, which our body doesn't really need every day. It's okay to have it sometimes, but probably not every day. So when you try, and particularly when you're dealing with stressful situation, looking after yourself and making sure you're eating well, that's probably a very good idea. Does that answer your question? I'm trying not to talk too much, but I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Yeah, no, please put your questions in through the chat and we'll absolutely try and get to them at the very end of this webinar as well. Nikki, over to you.
So I'm going to have a chat with Beck now. Beck is a PhD student, right? Isn't that right, Beck?
Yeah, PhD student.
Yeah, and you've had some great experiences whilst you were a student. So I'm going to jump straight in and talk about the opportunities you had with your exchange that you did. So what were you studying at the time, and how did you get to go do all these great things while studying food and psychology?
Yeah, well, it was really, really great. Definitely one of the highlights of my undergraduate degree, I'd say. So in my second year of my undergrad, my undergrad is majoring in psychology and nutrition. In my second year, I decided to go to Tampa. So I was at the University of South Florida for 2 semesters. And while I was there, I ended up sort of saving up all my electives from first year and using them in the second year while overseas. So I ended up doing some units that were related to my degree, so a few psychology units here and there, but I also got to use up some of my electives to do some fun subjects. So I did things like intro to sociology, I did world religions. I even got some credit for just attending the gym twice a week and also boot camp twice a week, which is really good. So I got to save up a lot of my time rather than working on assignments to go and actually experience the culture. So yeah, it was a really great experience. I'd say some of the highlights, definitely the housemates that I had and the people that I met. I've now got friends pretty much all over the world, especially over America, but even the other exchange students over in Europe as well. So the people that I've met, that was probably the biggest highlight, but definitely the traveling as well. So you can see in the bottom left corner of the screen there, they're actually 2 of my friends from my work in Melbourne. They actually came to visit me in New York, so we did a trip there. And then the other 2 photos are from my first football game, college football game, and that was a really cool experience. So they're probably my highlights.
That looks amazing. I had a similar experience when I went to university as well. I went to Indiana for part of my university, and yeah, big sporting place. University campuses are humongous there, and it's like a city in its own within just the campus facility. So thanks, Beck, for sharing. I'm going to hand it back over to Annabelle.
Awesome, thanks, Nikki. Okay, Bevan, this one's for you. So we have some pictures of you from the 2016 Men's Precision Nutrition Coaching Program. I think you've got them up, Nikki. Yep. Firstly, I want to know, did you win? And also, No. What was this competition all about? What made you enter? And then can you please explain how entering this competition started a health journey for you, and which also happens to be your journey to becoming a doctor? Like, explain, please.
Yeah. I'll try not to talk for too long. Basically, I'd come back from overseas, and I was about 27, I think, when I started this program. I'd fallen into some dietary habits and sort of physical activity habits that I just wasn't happy with, and I started putting on a little bit of weight. And I thought, you know what, I'm not comfortable with where I'm at. And I'm a person who tends to do things almost to the extreme, as you can probably see. So I thought, you know what, I'll join this 1-year precision nutrition coaching program. And I thought the program was fantastic. It taught me some incredible sort of nutrition and physical activity habits. And I really love what the Food and Mood Center does, because it really echoes my own experience. The fact that I started looking like this was almost a bit of a bonus, but the way that I felt was fantastic. I'd gone from not being able to concentrate very much at work, or kind of, you know, petering out in the last few hours of the day, to being really on point with my mental acuity. I just found wide-reaching benefits in almost every aspect of my life. And so in and of that, I think because I'd given my brain a boost with the nutrition and the physical activity that I was observing, I actually ended up applying for medicine, and then I got in, and now I'm nearly finished medicine. So that's kind of how all that came about.
Wow, that's amazing. Well done to you. It's very inspiring, actually. Thank you. It's a shame you didn't win, though.
I think you had to get Facebook votes or something like that, and I didn't have enough Facebook friends. So I came in like 7th, but I got the money back that I spent to buy the program, and I won it back in the end. So I was pretty happy with that.
That's a really good achievement.
Yeah.
Looking at the outcomes, I'd say Bevan did win. Maybe not the competition, but everything else. Yeah.
Absolutely right, Tatjana. It was the benefits I got outside of any money, you know, were absolutely worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Nikki, over to you.
I'm going to have a chat with Tim now, all about ice cream. I can't wait. So Tim, I'd like to take you back to 1999. And if I told you in 2021 that Tim Boone Ice Cream would be a feature stop on the Great Ocean Road 12 Apostles Gourmet Trail, that you would have a purpose-built ice creamery for you to run a Sunday school program, and that you would have 4 mobile ice cream vans and events, what would you say to me? Would you believe me?
No, I'd probably call you a fibber, I reckon. I think way back then, in 99, we just left the family farm. My father and I had different ideas about how farms should be run, I guess. That's the polite way of putting it, which is exactly what happened. And we didn't want to go back to Melbourne to our careers back there. So we decided to stay in the area, and we were working part-time jobs, and we had racked up a heap of credit card debt to try and buy some second-hand ice cream making equipment, and also trying to teach ourselves how to make ice cream, because would you believe, like way back then, the internet wasn't as big as it is now, so there wasn't that resource to draw upon. So no, I think the journey that we've been on in the last 20 years has been, look, it's been fantastic. We're involved in an industry which is, it's selling sort of joy and love over the counter, I guess, and I'm a bit of a creative person, so it gives me that opportunity to express that creativity through flavour development and coming up with new ideas, and and the expectation is in the ice cream market is that you are coming up with new ideas and different flavours for people to try.
And look, I've been to the lovely Tim Boone Ice Creamery, and I love going there. I love taking my kids there, and I love on your wall you have a beautiful time map of how the journey started. So if when your restrictions are over and you have the opportunity to get on the road, it's a great, fantastic place to try different types of ice cream and just enjoy it. It's in a beautiful setting. So my next question is, can you tell us about some of the different markets you've developed in the 21 years, like how you've diversified some of your business? Obviously, you started probably very small, maybe selling at farmers markets, and have gone from there.
Well, you're absolutely right. We did, Nikki. We found that to be a great model, farmers markets actually, and we expanded upon that by actually building our first little ice cream truck back in 2000, and we went to the Geelong show. I think that was our first event, and I think we sold quite a few ice creams at that event. And when there was a big sort of light bulb moment that we were able to actually make a go of it, because we thought that we're introducing something new and fresh to the market, and we were getting a reasonable return for that. But it also taught us a lesson in that we probably needed to diversify our markets as a risk mitigation strategy, I guess, in business, to not have all our eggs in the one basket. And so we've diversified our income streams, I guess, to try and protect us against things like COVID. We have had a big part of our business historically was we grew those mobile operations and licensed them out to other operators to go to events and fairs and markets around the countryside, whilst keeping a few of our own direct vans to sell from ourselves. And then we started making the 500ml tubs, as you can see down in the bottom right corner, the mint choc chip, to go to supermarkets, which is another market. Then we decided to make Dixie cups as well. And you can see Thomas there, my son, in the middle slide down the bottom of the umbrella on the cart for the fast moving consumer goods market. And then we've invested in building at Timboon to reach the tourism market as well. And within that building, we've obviously got a classroom which is our Sunday school room to educate I guess another market in that, in terms of educating school groups and corporate groups about how we make and what you do with ice cream. So out of all those, with all those markets, with all those sort of fingers in different pies, I guess we've been able to sustain ourselves through COVID, and the supermarkets we've been leaning heavily on to sustain us while we can't go out and sell direct through the traditional markets and fairs and festivals. And tourism is certainly slowing down. Well, it's quite slow in our part of the world at the moment, but we do get a lot of local support, so we're very grateful for that.
Yeah. And you've also got some furry friends now that can try ice cream as well. Is that right? Have you got a dog ice cream?
Oh, we have, yeah. We're looking at expanding into that market. We've got a dog called Winnie and Rose after our two dogs, and it's a ice cream I've made just for dogs, and it's low lactose, low sugar with some hemp oil in it, and it's vanilla and adult. We pasteurize it, and it's safe for fur babies' parents to eat as well, and so you can share it. I think it's a big part of the whole dog thing, sharing ice cream. So we're hoping, we think there's a go. It's a very, it's a largely untapped market, and we'd like to perhaps have a bit of a presence in that. But, that's just probably a project for the next 6 months. And we've just started supplying Coles Local into Sydney through some stores in Sydney. So that's sort of helping us get through COVID as well. But look, and we're talking about nutrition as it's on topic. And look, we say that, you don't have to eat a lot of ice cream at all, but when you do, just make sure you choose a good quality one.
Sounds good to me. And as a Southwest local, it's my go-to ice cream. So
you're too kind, Nikki.
Annabelle, I'm handing back over to you. Or are we going to do another poll now?
We're going to do another poll, Nikki. Yeah.
Right. So I'm about to launch this poll. So this time the poll is got some questions that you might be able to answer. The first one is, Caramella Koala has a real name. So you've got 4 choices here. Is it Kevin, the Caramella Koala, George, the Caramella Koala, Barry, the Caramella Koala, or Trev, the Caramella Koala is our first question. That's probably my favourite poll question out of them all, Annabelle.
I know, you love that one.
I love a good Caramella Koala. The second one is, which family do apples and pears and cherries and apricots belong to? Is it the rose family, the magnolia family, the herb family, or the gum tree family?
Well, do you want to go back and we'll ask the panel back to question 1, the Caramella Koala, and see if they can come up with the answer. All right, Beck. Is it Kevin, George, Barry, or Trev?
I can see it being George, but Kevin the koala sounds really cool.
It is, in fact, what is it, Tatiana?
It's George.
It's George. I'd love to know where that came from. Now, so question 2. Tim, what do you reckon? Which family do apples, pears, cherries, and apricots belong?
Well, I'm trying to sort this out. Look, is it similar bark? Is it just similar? I'm not sure. Herb family. Oh no, I'll go magnolia. There you go.
Tatiana, what is it?
I would actually probably see if I would have asked that question and didn't know the answer, I would have went with magnolia too, Tim. And I can see how logic might take you there, but it's actually rose family.
Oh, thank you. Very kind.
Nikki, what's the last question?
And the last question is, peanuts are not nuts. Is that true or false? So Bevan, do you think peanuts are nuts, or are they not nuts?
It's like a double negative.
Or am I going nuts? I don't know.
I'm nuts for peanuts, but I believe peanuts are a legume, and so
They are correct.
There you go.
Very impressive, Bevan. See, Deakin University Met students, they know everything.
Even be clever.
Oh dear, thanks for that, Nikki. Alrighty, what are we up to? All right, Tatiana, back to you. Can you please tell us about your pathway from when you're at school to where you are now? And so when did your interest in the relationship between diet and mental and gut health start, and why? There's 2 parts to that.
Yep, so I'll try not to have too long of an answer, but I actually, guys, as you might hear, that I'm not from here originally. So I was born in Ukraine, and when I finished school last century, I didn't actually have the luxury to choose my future profession. I had to go and work, and I had to do what had to be done. And I started studying accountancy, because that's a good kind of profession which will basically be with you through any changes, because my country then were undergoing a lot of social, economical changes. So it was a difficult time. So I actually was working, doing accountancy, had 3 different jobs running around. And then when I immigrated to Australia, that's where I kind of had a choice to perhaps choose my next degree, because I thought, well, I probably don't want to be an accountant. I want to talk to people. I want to help people. And that's why I've chosen nutrition and dietetics. So when I went through nutrition and dietetics to apply for a degree in nutrition and dietetics, which was at the University of the Sunshine Coast, the score to get into degree was really, really high, higher than medicine or law, because it was very, very popular. It was in 2006. So I was offered to start with tertiary preparation pathway. This is something which lots of uni offers, and they have different name for it. And I'm sure that Deakin offers something like that as well. That's for people who perhaps did not get good enough score to get into uni, into degree they want, to kind of bump up their score a little bit. So I went through tertiary preparation pathway in 2006, and long story short, I ended up finishing at the University of the Sunshine Coast as a courses chair. So I finished PhD there, I did undergrad, I did PhD, and I was lecturing and chairing courses. And then I saw a position as a research fellow at the Food and Mood Center. And there's 2 things I love in life, is food and research. So I thought, oh, food and mood, it's about me. So I applied, and the rest is history. Here I am, nearly 4 years at the Food and Mood Center, and studying everything and anything to do with diet and mental health.
That's an amazing pathway. Really incredible. Well done to you. And are you enjoying living Victoria as opposed to the Sunshine Coast? That's in Queensland.
Of course I do, Annabelle. Of course. No, I think Victoria is fantastic. The countryside is absolutely beautiful. But look, we're lucky in Australia wherever we are. So, and I'm lucky enough to go back to Sunshine Coast often enough to enjoy Victoria, if you know what I mean.
Good on you. Thank you. Nikki.
So we're going to chat to Beck again and just talk about her day-to-day experience as being a PhD student. So what's it like, Beck, being a PhD student in the Food and Mood Centre?
Yeah, so I'm only in my first year of the PhD, and I'm very sure that it would change as you sort of progress along the years, because it is a 3-year degree. So in this first year, I'm kind of just doing a review of what research is already out there in my field. So as you mentioned, I'm looking at preventing depression and anxiety through modifiable lifestyle behaviors. So things like diet, exercise, sleeping, smoking. So kind of just at the moment, reading a lot of research that's already out there and sort of summarizing it all together. When I'm not doing that, I'm helping some other students with their other projects as well. So one of the other PhD students, she's actually looking at polyphenols and their role in depression. So that's a sort of a part of food that has positive influence on a lot of things, but her outcomes depression. So I help out with her project. There's also a few meetings throughout the week, so you can find out what's sort of going on with the other researchers at the Food and Mood Centre, as well as what's going on with the School of Medicine. So they're really interesting to attend, find out and see what everyone else is sort of keeping up with. Other than that, there's also a few workshops, doing some units here and there, so some statistics. And then I'm also really lucky to be doing some tutoring and marking as well. So really enjoy that aspect of my degree as well.
So like a 9-to-5 day, or is it a 9-to-10 day? Like is it a go in kind of opposite job, or is it kind of in between that and being a student, like an undergrad student?
It's really flexible, which I love. So I've got a lot of autonomy, I guess, in deciding where I want to spend my hours during the day. I definitely try to keep to the 9-to-5 just to keep me sane. I think structure really helps with making sure that I'm productive and that I have that work-life balance as well. So quite flexible, but I personally like to keep it 9-to-5. I know another student likes to start a little bit later and end a little bit later because that's when they sort of work best. So it's really up to you, but yeah, I'd say 9-to-5 most days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Beck.
And Bevan, next question's for you. So as a medical student and a nutrition enthusiast, how do you see yourself combining these two things in the future? So once you've graduated, you're working with patients. Does that question make sense to you?
Absolutely. I find, I mean, nutrition and health, we probably all know, are intrinsically linked. And as I progressed through medical school, at least, I've become more and more interested in mental health. And that's why I was saying before, you know, I really love the work of the Food and Mood Centre. Things like the Healthy Med study and things really show us that intrinsic link, in particular, between our mental health and the things that we eat. And it's not only that, you can appreciate that our physical health is really dependent on the things that we eat. And I believe we make an investment every time we choose a different food. You can appreciate the difference maybe between a bowl of greens or some KFC, something of that nature. And so what I really hope to be able to achieve, Annabelle, is to work with people in the future, maybe as a psychiatrist. I don't really know what it might look like, but helping people get on top of their mental health by getting on top of their physical health. And I think a lot of that is dependent on dietary interventions and just getting some ideas out, helping people to eat a little bit better. Every choice that you make that's that much better than the last one you made is a step in the right direction. And so I really hope by being able to model that to whoever I work with, whatever patients, and tell them about my own journey and my own experience, I really hope that that'll inspire some people and help them along their journey. I think what Tetiana said about helping people really rang true to me. That was the reason I got into medicine in the first place.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So, yeah, go on, Nikki.
I was going to say, I'm going to chat to, I'm sort of moving in a different direction. We're going to have a chat with Tim again about, I guess, how important, Tim, to you is like using local produce in your ice cream products?
Nikki, I guess that the local produce is paramount because that sort of underpins our provenance with Boone Fine Ice Cream, and it's also a compelling competitive advantage, I guess, in the market, because a lot of ice creams out there actually don't use fresh cream and fresh milk. Would you believe? Use a lot of other less probably premium fillers and things like that. So certainly with the milk and cream and other ingredients, we use like locally we use Lana's jam for our rhubarb and raspberry ripple, and we buying local. Everything we can get local, we source local. There are some ingredients we can't because they're just too complex and too hard to source, not available locally. But yeah, that's a big part of our business.
And over the years, what's been the consistency of the best-selling ice cream over the years at Boone?
Look, I probably have to say the honeycomb, really. Honeycomb, because of the big chunks in it, everybody loves it, and the passion fruit meringue's probably close second, I guess. It's funny, we went into the marketplace when we first started going out and trying to ascertain what people wanted in the market, and we were going to go make rhubarb and Shiraz and strawberry balsamic and all those wonderful flavors back in 1999. And our market research was very basic, but people just wanted, guess what?
Strawberry.
Chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. Yeah, that's right. So we had to do a good job of those first to earn our stripes to go and have the ability to go and make the other ones.
I can say that honeycomb and ginger are my favourite combination. So
nice double.
Nice. That's what I will be having hopefully in a couple of days' time. What's the weirdest flavour you've ever made? Like, you're just talking about how you wanted to make some, balsamic and strawberry and things like that. What's the weirdest flavour you've ever made?
A couple. Probably I did make a pork crackle and apple. That was a bit weird. Pork crackle and apple. And the worst one I ever made was I tried to make Guinness. That was shocking. Yeah. That was like
St. Patrick's Day, was it?
Yeah, it was. I had no idea. It ended up was something like between burnt coffee and beef stock or something like that. It was pretty ordinary.
Well, I'm glad that I didn't try those ones. Do you use any science? Is there any science involved in making ice cream for those people maybe wanting to try it at home to make their own ice cream? Is it a science experiment?
Look, I think it is scientific from the perspective that you need to balance a number of components to have a successful mix. Yeah, and that involves incorporation of milk solids, fats, sugar, and air, and that's really getting all those things to harmonise gives you a successful ice cream. And it is pretty easy to make your own ice cream. On glaze base with egg yolk and make a custard, and away you go. Our preparation's a little bit different, but yeah, I think ice creams are generally judged on what, strangely enough, the defects that are present rather than not the benefit of the ice cream itself. So it's looking for iciness and stickiness and gumminess and wetness and weakness and body and all those sort of things. So really. We don't put our ice cream up for awards too often because we find that our customers tell us whether they like our ice cream or not, and that's the most important thing for us. And every now and then we do it as a benchmarking exercise, but look, it's good fun, and yeah, we always encourage people to have a go at crack at making it at home for themselves.
Yeah, well, we've definitely got a bit of time on our hands at the moment, so maybe we're inspiring a lot of ice cream makers around Victoria and without Australia tonight that are joining with us. Our last poll for the evening, probably a little bit excited about this one. There is no questions. We just want you to put your answers in the chat. Is what's your favourite ice cream? So as I said before, mine's honeycomb with the ginger from Boone Ice Cream. That's my favourite 2 flavours of ice cream, but I'd love to hear or see your ice cream flavours come up in the chat.
What's yours, Beck?
Oh, that's tough. I love blueberry ice cream, but I also love sorbets, like lemon sort of flavors. Yeah, that's probably my go-to.
Do you make sorbets, Tim?
Yeah, we do. We make we pay local kids to go and pick blackberries we use strawberries from a local strawberry farm. We use mulberries off our own tree when they become available. And lemon's pretty well available all year round. And you have to have a dairy-free offer, a vegan offer now. That's just the way it is. You know, we've actually increased that offer now because there's just such a demand for that particular product now.
Yeah. Tatiana, what's your favourite flavour?
I like fruity flavors, but hey guys, come on, any ice cream flavor is a good flavor. Let's be real here.
Great answer.
Oh dear, that's funny. How about you, Bevan? What would you go for?
I'm very plain. I'm just vanilla.
Okay.
Yeah, my 5-year-old loves vanilla. He's, you know, chocolate, strawberry, no, just vanilla. He loves a good vanilla.
A good vanilla is just, it's amazing.
Yeah, you're right, Bevan. It's the gold mark go-to in terms of the measure of all ice creams.
Indeed.
You've got to get that right.
That's your foundation. Yep.
Well, I like anything chocolatey, so any combination with chocolate, I'm happy.
We've had some really good responses in the chat, Annabelle. We've had mango sorbet. I could eat 10 tubs of mango sorbet in one sitting. We've got from someone lime sorbet, hokey pokey, which is the New Zealand version of honeycomb.
Right.
I love how they call it hokey pokey.
Yep.
Vanilla, Vegemite from Jeff. Is there a Vegemite flavour? I'm not sure about that one. What else?
I think that one came up when we were discussing weird flavours of
weird flavours.
Oh,
and salted caramel. Yeah, that's a pretty good one too. So I guess now we're going to move into and if anyone's got any questions from the audience, we'll have our Q&A. We've got probably 2 or 3 minutes before we finish up tonight, before we say goodbye. So if anyone's got any questions they'd like to ask any of the panellists, now's your time to do so. So you can put that either in the chat or in the Q&A and we'll try and get to it.
And in the meantime, I might just ask a few questions. Nikki, can you keep your eye on the chat?
Yep.
Thanks. Tim.
Yes.
What excites you about your work?
Oh, look, I never really get sick of it, you know. I love getting up and, you know, having the opportunity to sort of come up with a new flavour and even sort of hook up the ice cream van and head off to the Castellan show, you know, and have a day out there and come back. I love it. You know, it's, I really, really enjoy that. And I've actually quite missed that opportunity with COVID. And just seeing people enjoying themselves, you know, we're not, we're sort of in the business of, you know, providing a little bit of, you know, indulgence for people without overdoing it. And it's just lovely to see people coming into the shop and choosing the best flavour or bringing their family in with the kids and enjoying themselves. It's a bit of time out for them, a bit of time to lose themselves in some flavour and creaminess, I guess. So, it's, you know, why wouldn't you love that? You know, it's it's a great job to have. I love it.
It's certainly a happy business, isn't it? Like it's you make people happy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Yeah.
And the staff get that too over the like the girls, you know, they get all that. It's not that general sort of hospitality vibe. It's just, you know, people don't mind queuing and everyone's very, you know, pretty good mood when they're there, and because they're going to be indulging themselves, I guess.
Any questions that have come in, Nikki?
We've had one, a question from Bevan.
Yes.
Why does exercise make you feel so good for hours after a workout?
I was just typing the answer, but I guess I can answer verbally. So exercise releases feel-good chemicals in your body that are called endorphins. And the endorphins float around your blood and they go into your brain and make you feel fantastic. So that's why you get, for some people, really pronounced effects from exercise, making you feel good after a workout. So I think it's great. Everyone should work out or do some kind of exercise at least. It's really good for you.
So are there any last comments that the panellists might like to leave us with? Might start with you, Tatiana.
I'd just like to wish everyone good health, good mental health. Please do ask for help when required. We all struggle sometimes. It's nothing wrong with talk to someone you trust, to your parents, to your teachers, to your friends, just to share how you feel. And if you, to our younger viewers, learn how to cook. So invest some time in cooking. We spend, you know, as kids, I have two younger adults now, but we spend 100 hours at least learning how to drive, at least, but we don't spend near enough learning how to look after ourselves. So learn how to cook is cheap, it's cheerful, and you can always look after yourself and people you love.
What a great piece of advice. Beck, any last words of wisdom from you?
Yeah, that's a really good tip, Tatiana. I definitely didn't learn to cook as early as I wish I had. So yeah, really good thing to consider. But just also for those that are like maybe in year 12 or even year 11, I'm sure you're going through really tough doing exams and things like that, preparing for that at home. And just remember not to put too much pressure on yourself. So when I finished year 12, I didn't get into the course that I wanted to, that I thought was going to be, you know, be all end all to getting to my career, but you make it work. There's other options out there. So you're already going through a hard enough time, take the pressure off yourself a little bit, do something for yourself. There's always going to be ways around it.
Great advice too. Thanks, Beck. Bevan?
Some excellent ideas. I'm going to riff on what Tatiana said and say, eat lots of veggies. You don't need to cook them. You can just eat them.
How about you grow them and then eat them?
That is so good. Having a veggie garden is good for your brain as well, because it makes you relax when you're out interacting with the plants. It's a lot of fun. I grew up on a farm, so I'm a bit spoiled, but I think everyone should have a veggie garden. It's a great way to de-stress, and you get to eat the produce at the end. Awesome.
So speaking of that connection to land, Tim, what would you like to leave us with?
You've got to, of course, finish off with an ice cream, Bevan. It's obvious, isn't it, really, I guess? You know, I can, you know, I think Beck sort of hit the nail on the head. I think there's far too much emphasis and pressure put on year 11 and 12 for kids these days, and it's really only a snapshot in a lifetime. And, you know, we've got my middle child is in the middle of VC at the moment, and stuff, you know, doing going into battle, and we keep saying, you know, just keep eating well and exercising well in between your study time, and it certainly does help giving yourself a bit of a break and not, you know, not having an over expectation of what you have to do or what you need to achieve is keeping everything in perspective.
Yeah, very sound advice. And on that note, Nikki, I think our time is up.
Our time is up. So thanks everyone for joining us. Those people in our audience tonight, thank you so much for participating in the chat and our polls tonight. And thanks to our panelists, Annabelle. I think we need to give a round of applause for all of their time giving up tonight to come along. And I've learned some great things tonight, and I'm looking forward to my ice cream in a few days' time, hopefully.
Seeing you there, Nikki.